Hey guys, this is Rodeska, and I'm coming to you with a video tutorial today for painting skin tips and tricks inside of Zbrush, and hopefully this will help you with painting skin for your characters. So let's get started. Alright, so obviously I have this model already painted, as you can see, but I'm going to go over some tips and tricks as to how I got to this point. Starting with maybe a new model, and then let's just fill it with a random color. Maybe even just fill it like that. So let's say you have like this character, the model of this character, and it has not been painted yet, and you're like kind of stuck. Like, how do I paint this? So I'm going to go over some tips and tricks as to how I painted my model, and hopefully that'll help you guys. All right. So basically what I'm going to do first is I'm going to reference you to Jay Hill. His tutorials are absolutely amazing. But this is more of a tutorial for painting inside of Substance Painter, right? So I'm going to leave a description down in the
freckles. We're gonna make some.
I'm going to leave a description or a link down in the description of how you can get to this tutorial. This is absolutely a fantastic tutorial for if you are learning to paint skin for finalizing your characters. But we're going to be taking some of these methods and applying them inside of ZBrush so that you can kind of get inside of a render a lot more quickly. So let's say if you're using Keyshot or if you're using Redshift and you just kind of want to transfer your vertex map into your textures rather than going into Substance Painter and painting them. So this will get you a really good starting point to painting your skin. All right. So I'll leave a link down in the description of how you can get to that. As well as there's this character. It's made by Z He. I hope I said that correctly. It's made by Z He. And this actually kind of demonstrates kind of what I'll be going over in this tutorial. So as you can see, if you zoom in on this character, you can see underneath the surface, you can see this red noise everywhere. And don't think about that as being on top of the surface. Think of that as being the underlying color that you're going to put as your base. And then the over color is going to be these yellows, more peach colors and things like that for the skin. All right. Obviously, if you're doing a person of color, you would want to change that to being something else, obviously darker colors or more magenta. So another thing you'll notice is that there's more reds in the nose, around the eyes, around the ears and things like that. And there's also like, some browns and things like that, some different colors that you want to kind of like familiarize yourself with. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because it's obviously a full body that has been, censored. And of course, you have all these little surface details with the moles and freckles and stuff like that, which you can completely put on your character if you want to, but we're not going to do that. So the first thing that I like to do is I actually like to obviously go inside of the paint brush, and then we're going to go into our spray, and you can choose an alpha here. I'm going to choose the dots alpha. It really doesn't matter which alpha you use, as long as it's like one of these noisy kind of alphas, like the circular alphas. This one and this one's probably the best ones that you could use. You can also use this one right here, maybe, or this one for even smaller noise if you want. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to go now and we're going to choose kind of like a darker red color, as in Jay Hill's tutorial. We're just going to kind of spray that everywhere, shrinking the brush to get kind of different sizes. And we're just going to kind of like go around and we're just going to kind of spray this color like it's blood. It's basically just blood underneath, right? And this is going to kind of help you with the underlying colors of your character, right? So it's pretty much underneath everyone, so it's not exclusive. Blood is pretty much under everyone's skin. So I try to stay away from that kind of mirrored look as well as the skewed look. So as you can see right here in the middle, we're kind of getting like a mirrored pattern. So what you want to do is just turn symmetry off and then just go repaint over it as best as you can. and try to repaint over the symmetry line to get rid of that kind of symmetry look, because I don't like that. I don't really like that being there. So we're just going to kind of really quickly, and you can even break up some more of these patterns, symmetrical patterns, just by going over it and you know, make sure you get underneath the chin. That's extremely important. And you can see there's a little bit of skewing right here. Don't like that, so we're just going to kind of paint back over that to kind of get rid of that, right? The good thing about the spray brush is that it always like does the color flow. So what I mean by that is it's always going to be like different colors, so you're not always going to get the same color. If you want to change that and you want to get more of the same color, just go into your modifiers and change the color down, and maybe the flow as well. The color is the thing that is driving the intensity of the color, so it's the same color, but it's being intensified. There's variation in the color, the same color that you're using. So think of it as you're using the same color, but it's getting darker and lighter because of the spray, right? So now what we're going to do is we're just going to use kind of like a skin color. So we're just going to kind of go over here. We're going to use a skin color, and I kind of like to use more of a yellowish color. So about that. So if you want to, you can pause the video and you can go up to your Z plugin, Z color, open that up. That's going to open up this little palette. If you hold onto your Z color, you can actually pick colors outside of ZBrush. So I'm going over here to YouTube and I'm picking colors on these videos. As you can see, the Z color is changing. So all you have to do is pause, open up Z color, and then just pick the color that I'm using right now. And then you can just hit set color. And there you go. So now that you have your set color, what you're going to do is you're going to actually drop down your intensity. You're going to turn off your spray. So you're going to turn that back to dots. You're going to choose an alpha. It doesn't really matter which alpha you use. You can even take off the alpha if you want. And you're just going to lightly kind of paint over that. And as you can see, the noise underneath is staying there. So we're already getting that kind of variated noise underneath the skin, right? And you can just kind of go in here and you can just kind of do this and cover up the entire thing. You don't necessarily have to cover up the entire thing. You can leave some things like brighter red. You can leave some things darker. It all depends on what you're going for, right? So maybe we want to leave like the lips a little bit more red. So we're just going to kind of go and color the face, color the ears. The ears are a little bit skewed, but that's okay. And the good thing is we're already getting that noise underneath the skin. So we already got that skin breakup, essentially. Now we're just kind of painting in the layer over the skin. You can also use layers over here. You can use layers. I don't recommend using like fill with the layer system because it tends to break your polypaint for some reason. So I tend to stay away from that. And I just like to paint it manually. One thing I would love to see in the future of ZBrush is if there's a layering system where we can erase a layer overlaying the top. That would be pretty cool. You can also do this in any other program. So if you have Blender, you can do it in Blender, and you can erase the layers. Okay. So essentially what we're doing is we're just kind of going in here and we're just kind of, you know, maybe we want to make this just a little bit darker. Yeah, that's better. And one thing is that if you feel like your reds are a little bit too dark, you can always go back. There doesn't, you know, you don't necessarily need to do this. So let's say we can go all the way back and we're like, okay, this is a little bit too dark for my taste. Maybe I'm going more into the realm of stylization. Then what you can do is you can go to your polypaint, and then you can go to adjust colors, and you can kind of zoom in on this, and let's see if we can raise the intensity of this a little bit, make it maybe a little bit more kind of intenser. Maybe we want to make it more saturated or less saturated, depending on your taste. And I think I'm just going to leave that at 0, and I'm just going to raise the intensity a little bit, and we're just going to hit OK. All right, so that seems a little bit better for something that's more stylized. And now we can kind of go in here and we can kind of, you know, just lightly paint over this again with our new color. Again, if you want, you can pause the video and use the same colors that I'm using. But I'm just doing this by eye. There's really no like set color. I just try not to like make too dark of colors when I'm doing like, you know, stylized characters. I don't like to make too dark of colors or too saturated of colors. I like to kind of keep it in the general realm of being nice to look at, you know. So we're just going to kind of keep around the eyes a little bit more red. So everything else I'm kind of just like giving a lot of strength to. I still want kind of like that underline kind of breakup, but I'm kind of leaving the ears and the eyes and the nose and the lips alone for now. And we're just focusing on the rest of this because those are going to be like a different intensity, right? Okay. And we're just going to do this really fast. And there's going to be points where you're going to constantly like go back and, you know, change it up a bit. And if you want to, you can also add more kind of like variation in the blood spots. It doesn't need to be like just a noise. It can be like you know, different kinds of like blood, you know, effects underneath the skin. Like in the J Hill tutorial, you know, he adds all kinds of details, sunburn details and stuff like that. But the reason why I'm just doing it this way is because this is just a simple model. It's nothing too complex. Okay, and you can see that the colors are mixing quite well. One thing that people don't know about inside of ZBrush is there's actually a lot of functionality to your paintbrush. Okay, so there's a lot of functionality to your paintbrush. If you actually bring your paintbrush over or your brush over, and then you go to your alpha and textures, you have different paint modes in here. So if I set this to 3, it's now going to multiply the color. So it's as if you're kind of painting inside of Photoshop, right? So this is a cool little thing. So you got 1 is the standard, 2 is colorize, 3 is multiply, lighten, and darken. So these are definitely something that, you know, if you're used to working inside of Photoshop with the paint modes, the layering system, then you might want to try to kind of play with that and see how that goes. But as you can see right here, the colors are mixing quite well together. So we got a nice kind of like balance of noise underneath the skin as well as, you know, skin tone laying over the top of it, right? So, and we didn't have to projection paint any of this. This is all just like natural kind of painting. Another thing that's really good to watch are traditional sculpting and painting videos, because I've been learning a lot from their painting processes with those videos. So these aren't the only other colors that we're going to be using. We're going to be using a couple of other different methods as well. But one thing that really helps to sell the color of your skin is the details of your skin. So it's not just, you know, going in here and doing this. This isn't the only thing that's going to help you with the look of your skin, right? And if you guys want this material, it's just the standard skin material. I'll show you the settings real quick so you can kind of get the same effect, because you'll notice that if you're trying to do this on a different material, it might not look the same as what mine does, because I've spent a while kind of perfecting my materials. But this is actually just simple. So if I actually go into this material, I'm going to pause it. And I put a wax of 34 strength and ambience of 12, diffuse of 84, 933, a specular of 8273. So that's pretty much all I did, and I just made this kind of like less intense slope in the specularity. So that's pretty much all I did. Colorizes all the way to 100. So this is the standard skin material. It's just a couple of things have been modified to change it to be better. And if I were to change this to any other material, like a base material, you'll see that we're getting a really different effect. Startup material, blend material, we're getting a different effect. It does not look the same. So custom making your materials is a very important thing, in my opinion, when it comes to painting skin inside of ZBrush. So hopefully that little tidbit helps as well. Because I know how frustrating it can be to try to get these colors to look right, and then it just doesn't because the material isn't matching up. So now we're just kind of working with the eyes, and we're kind of just doing a little bit less with the eyes. So I'm just going to drop down the intensity, and we're just going to kind of go in here and bit by bit kind of work on this. And I don't really care about the middle of the eye area. That's not really my concern. All I'm worried about is just trying to get more of that red to shine through. Okay. Okay. And this is just a nice kind of little breakup, right? So essentially the red is just where the blood capillaries are going to be, right? Where they're going to show up more. And again, you can wash out a lot of these like freckles and stuff like that. You don't really need them. But it does help with kind of selling the idea that this is skin with all this breakup and what have yous. So even there, it's kind of like looking like a nice base to go off of, right? But of course, there's a lot more work that needs to be done with this. We can't just be like, okay, we're done. There has to be like a lot more that is happening with this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that I got the underneath of the chin. Okay. Just kind of wiping out a little bit more of these blotches a little bit more. Like I said, if you don't want these like blotchies and stuff like that, you could just remove them. Just keep painting over them until you see less and less of them. Don't go full force right away. Okay, you want to try to get a little bit of that noise in there, because it does go a long way. A little bit of that, helps a lot with the look of the skin. Okay. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to go in and we're going to actually do a little bit of purple, and this is going to be kind of like a darkish, kind of grayish purple, right? And this is going to be for this kind of area right here, but it looks like it's going to be a little bit to kind of get the look that I'm going for, simply because it's really hard to mix these colors together and not make them look good. So you don't want something that's too bright. So if I were to kind of like just add purple to this, it looks too bright. It looks like makeup, right? You want it to blend in. And I could go in here and I could just, add a multiply and kind of multiply that in. And actually that does work a lot better. That's kind of why you would have like the multiply and stuff like that, is just so that you can blend these colors a little bit more. But you want to kind of get used to also picking the right color of desaturation and saturation levels. So that you're not like completely tarnishing the look of your character. Okay, and we're just going to put that right here towards the mouth area. And I might actually also put it up on the head a little bit and make sure that that's a little bit lower, because you do have like hair on your head. So just put it up on the head. And this will be like your follicles of your hair. And if you have like blonde hair or lighter hair color, then this might not be the best method. You might want to actually put, just like a little bit of a brown in there. But this is essentially like what you would do if you wanted to place like some ambient, like if you had like a little bit of hair kind of like poking on the top of your head, and it was like a little bit of fuzz. But if you had a clean shaved head, this would be like pretty much like white, whitish, because, a clean shaven head is never seen the light of day. So it's going to be like, it's going to be bleached. It's going to be really bleached. But this is the effect you would get if you had like a growth of, like if you had a lot of time in the sun and your hair follicles began to grow back out. slightly. So this is the kind of effect that you would get, right? So we're just kind of putting that in there. And as you can see, all of this is working really well because I have it on multiply. It's working really well with the colors that are underlined underneath. So it's not like getting rid of that noise that we have under there already. So that's good. And I'm just kind of following the hairline for that. Okay. Okay. Maybe a little bit more up here. At the top. I'm trying to make it even. I don't want to make it like blotchy, like some places are darker than others. Okay. I still feel like this is a little bit too brighter. All right, so now what we want to do is, again, we just kind of want to cover this up. So I hit C on my keyboard to get colors. And if you hold C and drag, you'll get, you know, different types of colors. So now what we can do is we can actually just lower that back again, and we can start blending these colors in again. As you can see, once we've taken it off multiply, it's actually erasing a lot more of that noise. Okay. So I'm kind of just trying to do this really quickly, but you would want to spend like more time with it. Don't try to do it too quickly. All right, so I'm just going to grab a color of the lips, and we're just going to kind of use the lip color to kind of help us. Again, with the paint mode at 1, taking off multiply, we're just going to kind of, we're going to keep a little bit of that noise, but we're going to use that color for our lips mostly. Okay. As if it's the natural color of the lips. Same thing, we're just going to kind of go up here, use the reds for the eyes, but kind of erasing a little bit of that noise. And for the ears as well. And I kind of want to erase a little bit of the red right through here. Get rid of a little bit more of that noise. Maybe lighten the lips up a bit more. And blend the eyes a little bit. This is all just trying to figure out, like, through trial and error. And I just picked a color from the nose of this red. And again, we're just using this color to kind of like get rid of the noise, as well as kind of like giving it more reds. Just ever so slightly, because subtlety is always like one thing that helps out. It's just being more subtle about it. Okay. So we do have a little bit of a ways to go. It's not perfect by any means, but it does get us kind of in the ballpark of where we need to be. Okay. Turning back on the subtools actually kind of helps you, because it kind of helps you look to see if you're going in the right direction with the colors, to see if it all matches up and whatnot. So it really does help. Okay. All right. So I do want to have the lips a little bit more red. So let's actually bring this down. And we're kind of just doing that towards the center of the lips. Okay. But you can also have like a kind of desaturated, kind of darker color for the lips. You can see once I'm coloring that in, it doesn't blend too well with the already darkened ones. So you want to go darker and maybe more saturated, so that it kind of just helps blend it a little bit better. You can go a little bit darker with that, but I like the lighter lips better. Okay. All right. So for around the eyes, we're gonna do like a dark kind of like shadow color, right? So it's gonna be like right around here, and you might want to have like a reference, but usually it's like right around here, and then maybe on the sides right here. Okay. And then for the eyeshadow, we're going to have much more darker, but not too dark. So I'm just going to kind of like paint as close to the edge of the eyelid as I can. I'm doing this with a mouse, so it's kind of hard for me to paint fast and accurate. Sometimes I switch over because sometimes it's just better to go in a certain angle when you're using a mouse. It's easier to go a certain way. So, sometimes it's hard to go this way with the mouse, so then you can just go over to the other side and kind of see if it's better in this angle. And it is. Okay. And then for the eyebrows are pretty easy to do. This is all just like something that's like really quickly thrown together again, so you might want to spend a lot more time with this. So I'm just going to kind of use a desaturated kind of brown, and we're just going to kind of map out where the eyebrows would be. So sloping over and then coming down. And then I kind of use the skin color to kind of erase where I did that at. And then we're going to pick the eyebrow color, and we're just going to kind of continue with that as it is. Like that. And then we're going to go even darker, and we're going to do some refinement. So I can't really do this, but with the mouse, I usually do this kind of stuff with a pen tablet, simply because you can see that it's really hard to get kind of like a nice stroke. So this is where you would want to get like a pen tablet and kind of like go in here and do this kind of thing with it. I'm not going to do that because obviously, you know, it's really hard for me. And since I'm recording on this monitor, I really don't want to change monitors. But you kind of want to, you know, keep going and going and going. And as you're getting gradually, you know, towards the end, you want to kind of point the hairs in that direction. So it's going to start up this direction, and then it's going to slowly, gradually go in that direction, right? As you're going with the eyebrows, right? And that is essentially how I paint the skin. And, you know, if you want to, you can get rid of more noise in the skin. You can change the colors. You can even refine these colors a lot better. You know, if you want to kind of erase some stuff, you can go in there and you can like erase it by picking the colors. So it's all up to you if you want to refine it, you know, and kind of like choke down these the strength of this eyeliner. Okay, and then if you're not happy with the color of the skin, again, you can go in here and you can kind of adjust the colors to, let's say, like I'm thinking that maybe this is a little bit too yellow. You can go in there, you can maybe saturate it a little bit, or you can maybe turn it back, or you can even change the hue. It all depends on what you want to do at the end of the day. You can change the intensity to be a little bit brighter. And I'd say that that's a pretty decent level of brightness, but that's essentially how I painted the skin to get a base going. And then you just want to keep on refining it until you eventually, you know, get to a point where you actually like it. So my colors are a bit off, but again, I can go in there and I can change the hue and saturation levels and things like that to get it to a place where I want it to be. So that is essentially how I painted the skin. Hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial bit that I did. Yeah, hopefully it helps you guys with the skin coloring of your stuff. And yeah, take care, you guys.